All right, I'm welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Thursday, March 21st, 2024. If not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. Anyways, let's get into it today. So markets today, really quiet, and it looks like we're just a little tired here. So we gapped up. The Qs, for instance, gapped up about 1%. Spiders gapped up about 0.5%, and we're just off the highs pretty much right now. A lot of the time after you get a big move, like we had really the last 2 days, even you could include Tuesday's action. So 51.31 was the low, and the high today was 52.61. So 130 point move here in less than 3 days, really. So we have a big pop. A lot of time you're going to be tired, and you're going to notice we went right into this topside trend line. I talked about 52.50 as being kind of the next macro target. We did hit that. We exceeded it by a little bit. Now we're getting reined back in just a little bit here. Again, market's kind of tired. I could see a little bit more backing and filling, maybe even tomorrow. Again, as this top trend line has been kind of the pullback area for, really since, October, right? So since the lows. So that is a level that obviously is of interest. I did remove that lower trend line. We just traded through it too many times, and obviously the market's not respecting it. The market's not respecting it, then I don't respect it. So that is kind of what I'm, all about there. I will say, if we want to in the future, we could adjust this and maybe just hike it through the lows here. And again, and at some point in due time, if we could extend this out. We could look at a weekly, in due time, this might come to a head and it might get tight enough to where we could look at it again. But right now, I'm not worried about it. It's been traded through too many times, and the market's not respecting it on the downside. So clearly, I don't think we need to worry about it. But the top side has worked, and obviously you can see that was basically right where the high of the day was. There you go. If we look at, even on the intraday, see, we went right through that, and now we're pulling back. So we'll see. Do we get a little bit more of a pullback on Friday? Again, we're a little overbought here, at least short term, kind of like hourly, 4 hour, that type of deal. And we have a pretty good gap there too. So the only kind of issue I would say with this market right now is I don't like when you gap up that much, especially looking at the Qs. When you gap up that much after a long run already, and honestly, the Qs here, we can get rid of these lines here for now. Well, actually, we'll get rid of the lower one. Well, hold on, let me stop this. Let's extend it out here. So you can see we kind of, in a way, you could say that we kissed it. But if you look at the top trend line here, this is how you know the Qs are weaker, right? We're not even nowhere close. And we only just made a new slight nominal high on the Qs. It looks like we'll make a new closing high today unless we have a huge fade in the next 30 minutes. But either way, we're not going to close above 448.64. And when you look at the spiders, the SPX, we're way above that pivot from the 8th. And we're into that top trend line. So the Qs are still weaker. I did tweet about this earlier this morning. I talked about the semis probably having a little bit of a fade in the afternoon. The SMH did come in off the highs. And again, notice the Qs here. Yes, they are up more percentage-wise by about 10 basis points. But look at the low of the day here on the Qs from this morning session. We cut through that around 1:30, and the spiders didn't make a new low until almost 2 o'clock, and we actually had a higher low at one point in the morning session. The Qs did not. So Qs getting a push mostly off of Micron. So Micron having good earnings, that took up stocks like Broadcom, ARM, which two of which we actually got off some pretty nice shorts in the day trading room. Although they took a little bit of time, but they did pay out eventually. But semiconductors, again, if it wasn't for Micron, I think this would be a little bit of a different story here, especially for tech. So again, what is up? Again, I keep saying it, but VNQ, XBI, ARKK coming in despite Tesla weakness, but still holding up well. IWM up 1.5. That's the leader today. So again, these continued rotation type sectors are getting the love as the semiconductors, maybe, it's one day, it's early, but we could have a lower high here. There's nothing to say that can't happen. I do think, this gap will get filled here, but again, kind of seeing that rotation out. I've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. I think if the market's going to have another thrust higher, it's going to come from anything but semis. Not saying the semis can't hold up or, even go sideways or sideways to lower, but I think that the rotation is going to happen, and I think we're seeing that even the transports. I've talked about this one up 1% on the day. New highs going back to mid-February. So we've made a new monthly high today on the transports. So again, those are holding up. But again, like the only issue, going back to what I was saying earlier, is I don't like when you gap up big, like a big gap up after a long trend leg. Sometimes that can signal exhaustion. I mean, I know we've talked about this till, we've been blue in the face here, but RSI declining. It is starting to tick back up here, but the point is lower highs here for the most part. It's just a general trend down with an uptrending market. We don't know that when the market's going to roll over or have a correction, but it tells us that, you want to be on the look for it. Maybe we get another pullback to 51.75, 51.50, and then that's it. That's all it's been since October, right? We didn't even pull back really until you could say like the end of the year. And it wasn't even a pullback. It was just a sideways kind of move. And then we had these 1 or 2 day like little spikes. And then recently we just kind of went sideways to up or sideways, and then we followed through up. So again, maybe the 20 moving average just holds from now until infinity. Probably not, but right now that's what's happening, and we'll respect that. But at some point we'll have some type of a pullback here. But right now, I do think this little trend line here is good for resistance. Again, the big question is, do we actually take out supports here? The one thing I will say is, and I said this yesterday in the live stream, if we were to close the week, meaning tomorrow, if we were to close below 5,200, we go to an hourly, more specifically 51.89, that would be a red flag. So that would be kind of like a possible, you can make a case it's like a false breakout on the weekly. So that's something I'll be watching for tomorrow. But either way, decent price action, and it was pretty much overall muted for the most part. But this trend line here, it's been resistance for a while. Just the big question is it the start of something bigger, or is it just another 20 MA hit? Anyway, so we talked about the Qs, definitely on the weaker side there. Didn't quite get to my 450 level, 449.34. And again, they're pulling back off the highs again. Semis are on the softer side compared to everything else outside of Micron, which did give out a bit of a sympathy play here. IWM, we've talked about, that is still holding up well. I like this weekly pattern. I would like to see it do more basing. I just think there's a lot of resistance here with this this level. It took us a year basically to break down from that, almost a year. And one back check, and then we did sell. So I'd like to see a little bit more basing, but it's holding up okay, and I'll give it the upside bias until proven otherwise. There's the Dow getting close to 40K, so maybe they need to, oops, there we go. So I think they'll at least, we're so close at this point, they'll probably get it above that. Maybe they can do that tomorrow. So 40K is your next big level there for the DJI, and obviously 400 for the diamond there, but Dow is still acting very well here. So semis, again, holding up. They did back in off the high, still up 2.5% on the day. Stocks up 2.5 as well. Again, kind of back checking to 5K. I'd just be watching this for a lower high. And if this does happen and we start to back off on the semis, again, you're definitely going to need continued rotation to other sectors, because this is what has been driving the entire market lately. So we'll be on watch here for a possible lower high. I think at the very least, it probably needs to flag a little bit if it wants to go higher. But semis up today, but they did back off noticeably from the highs. IGV also gapping higher, but pulling back in right back above this wedge trend line. We'll see where that closes the week. Transports, we talked about, still very strong here. FedEx does have earnings after the bell. So this is a gapper, right? It likes to gap down and gap up on earnings. We'll see how that shakes out. But right now, today, transport's holding up just fine. And you guys know the weekly pattern on the DJT is still good. All right, so interest rates here. So surprisingly, or perhaps not, are still pretty stubborn. So we had a little bit of a kind of pseudo double top there, but now higher low potentially on the 2-year. And again, it's just like these yield curves just don't want to stop, right? We had this big move. Yes, here comes the yield curve's going to unwind, and then it comes right back down today. So 2-year getting a bid, short end getting a bid, 5-year getting a bid, 10s and 30s. I mean, this looks like a bull flag here to me on the TYX or the 30-year. Same thing with the TN. I still don't see any problems here with yields. Higher lows, equal highs. So this is still acting well. Does the market care? I don't know, but for face value, they look okay. Additionally, just before we even get to the dollar, that carry trade, we're getting close to that 152 handle on the JPY. And look how much we backed off overnight last night, and we came all the way back. So this thing is not coming. It doesn't look like it wants to go down. Also, Swiss did a surprise cut last night. That's helping out the dollar get a tailwind. We'll talk about the dollar in a second, but look at that move. Gap down and ripped higher. So erased all of that sell from yesterday. XHB, I just threw 110 out there as a ballpark number, and it's just, look at this intraday. It's just a powerhouse, absolute tank. So XHB continuing higher. I don't have another level for that right now. VNQ up 61 cents. Again, the weekly pattern is still very strong on that. And then XLF getting through double top. We'll see where this closes the week. A lot of the time you can pierce double top, maybe even close the week above it, and then maybe you get a retrace after that. But it is blowing through that right now. Again, we still have that fake print on the weekly up to 44.66. Maybe it gets up there in due time. KRE is green nicely, up 2% on the day, so that is still hanging in there. I just don't like the weekly look, as you guys know. KBE is in much better shape. And this pattern here is actually really nice. I mean, big inside bar, moving averages starting to curl back up and separate a little bit. Nice outside candle. If you get a weekly close of 46.91, I think this could really have a little bit of legs, maybe up to like $50, 52. So KBE looks a lot better. KRE is still on the weaker side. As you know, broker dealers, I mean, look at this too. Like this in XHB today was just unbelievable. So broker dealers, look at this big power move. And it's at the highs of the day right now as we're into the 330 time frame. Just an incredible move there for XBD. All right, oil, again, continue to back off, down 20 cents, but no problems. So it's had a nice pop, and now it's pulling back a little bit here. Again, I'm still looking for 84.50 to 85. Nothing's changed there. But it did back off a little bit, but again, no real problems here. XLE still acting well. I think that might want double top. XOP is through this 150 handle. There is a lot of resistance we're coming into. Look at all these pivots up here. 152, 154. If we can stay through 150, it's getting a little stretched here. Same thing with my OIH. I'm not complaining, but it's getting a little stretched, so I am aware of that. That's why I've been trimming it on the way up. But up another 0.75% today, and 340 is the next stop for the OIH. Uranium here, CCJ back above 42. Again, I'm very interested to see where that closes the end of the week. Just closing back above this area does not negate what we did. It just means you close back above it. So just so you know, the next level, you still got that red bar high at 44.47. That coincides with the 50 and 100 moving average as well. And then if it gets through that, 45.46. The URNM is still safe right now on the weekly, and unless it sells hard tomorrow, it should close above that weekly green bar. So that's still in okay shape. Nat gas backing off here down a penny. I think we had inventories, a lot of chop here. Again, nothing terrible here, but look at this. It's been real tight here for the last 7 days or so. Again, I'm still favoring a little bit more of a dump, then I would get very interested in it. But right now, still on the softer side. Dollar index, which we talked about, this is interesting price action. So I said yesterday, look, this is in danger of lower high, and you don't want to see that if you're dollar bull. But look at this, gap down, and then an absolute monster move back to the upside for the DXY, and it's closing at the highs of the day. So if you can get back through 104, got a little pivot here at 104.25, 104.30, slight level at 104.50, and then 105. If this ends up being a higher low, a weekly higher low, we could look at 106, and I mean, nothing to say we can't go even higher than that. So dollar index is holding up nicely, and again, it's going to be a tailwind likely for yields. And what can you say? It's holding up well. Dollar yen also keep an eye on that 152. Anyway, gold here pulling back, as you might imagine. It did make new highs, though. It pulled back in very sharply on volume. So there may be a local high here in place. We'll see what we get tomorrow. Again, as long as it's above 2150, it can just consolidate to go higher. If it breaks below that, 21 and then 2075. Silver was the one that got hit really hard today. That's an engulfing. They might save it by, a penny or two. 24.93. That's the low from yesterday, and that's where we're sitting right now. So we'll see at 5 p.m. the futures close. Is it engulfing or not? It doesn't matter. Not really. That's why I said to you guys, I know that you guys probably didn't believe me, but just because we had a big outside day yesterday and it looks really good doesn't take away the fact that you're going into all of these pivots here. And there is volume. Guys, don't neglect volume. I see that people do that all the time. You got to pay attention to that volume. That wide range candle, it's going to be a resistance. And that's what it is right now. So it is pulling back pretty nicely. Doesn't mean it's going to crash or anything, but that's going to be a level that it's going to be hard for it to get through. If we look at the miners, they did gap up and back off a little bit today. SIL and GDX, SILJ there, GDX today, but the miners actually look okay. They're not at yesterday's lows, which is a positive. But silver definitely got hit with some resistance there. Platinum, flat to positive. Still holding up okay. Still could put in a higher low. And palladium still holding up okay as well. Copper, that backed off a little bit today. Yep, so it backed off. We'll see what this does here. Again, it's had a big run, so it's going to need to consolidate. Go sideways for a while if it wants to move higher. If it pulls back, probably 4 and then 395 would be a good level for a bounce for copper futures. And Bitcoin continues to hold up. It did back off a little bit here today, but nothing terrible. Nice pop yesterday, and it is kind of backed off of 68. Again, we'll see what this does on the weekly. Pretty good dip there. I'm in the camp. This probably needs to consolidate and let that 20 MA catch up to price there, but we'll see what it does. If it can close above 69.80, which is that pivot high I've been talking about over and over on a weekly, that would certainly make me more bullish on it. Not that I'm bearish or anything, but right now it's just had a big run, and I think it's just trying to digest those gains. So it's still holding up. So market's just kind of grinding around here. We got about 20 minutes left into the day. We should close around 52.50, I would imagine, barring some type of big sell here, but I don't really see that. I did note that Apple did get hit really hard today. A little bit of a surprise. There's a DOJ lawsuit. I'm surprised that the market's selling this hard. I'm inclined to think it's a bit of a shakeout there. These guys get lawsuits all the time. Google, Meta, Apple, they get lawsuits all the time. Why is it selling off now? Maybe Berkshire is using that cover to sell again. I don't know. But good volume. And that's kind of bringing the market averages down. You see NVIDIA and Microsoft still green. So kind of offsetting it there. But either way, markets are hanging in there. Again, we'll look for this trend line to be resistance. Big question is, does it actually result in a massive, bloodbath of 3%? To 5% of downside? Obviously, I'm being sarcastic. Or is it just another 20 MA hit and then another new high? So anyways, guys, going to wrap it up here. You guys take care. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com. I will see you guys all tomorrow.